Hi, everybody. In this video, we are going to walk through completing exercise one. Okay, so to get started, you'll see that I have already opened my browser and I've gone to the UMS portal page. Now, yours will probably look different. I've had to scrunch the screen to fit in this video, but it's the same portal. And I've made sure the launch pad is opened, and I look for our link to the Fogler Library, which is over here, Fogler Library, pretty nicely spelled out, hard to miss. So we go to Fogler, and we want to pull up one of the databases. We're going to use one of the university's databases. So I click on Database. It takes me here. And today we're going to specifically use the Web of Science. So I'm going to go to W instead of scrolling through all of them. And Web of Science, we go past the Washington Post, past Water Resources, and there it is, the Web of Science. A little description, you can learn more about it, but we're going to click on it, and that'll take us to the Web of Science. Okay, and now when you start up, I'm actually going to go here. You will probably see that the default, mine had changed because I was in it a few minutes ago. But the default, I think, when you start up is typically now Smart Search. But we're not going to use Smart Search. Now, Smart Search is Claravit, the company that makes Web of Science. It's their kind of AI tool that you're able to start to enter kind of more natural language sorts of description of find me an article on something. Um, the issue is, from what I'm hearing, is that you have to be very precise and careful in your language and what you're telling it in order to get the right results. Otherwise, you risk phrasing things in the wrong way, and you may miss some important articles that you're looking for. More importantly, I think for us is that as a learning process, I think it's better to learn in by building a search kind of step by step by step, just like we're going to go through here, so you understand kind of how the process works and how to build better, more precise or more narrowed or broader sorts of searches for yourself. So this is a better way to learn, I think, is without smart search. So assuming it's on for you, flip the switch, make sure it's off, and you should see kind of the old kind of general layout. In fact, I'm going to get rid of those. It probably looks more like this with just one little row there for you. Okay, now a couple things one more thing I want to talk about is up here where it says search in the Web of Science Core Collection Editions All. You can click on this little arrow next to Web of Science Core Collection, and it shows you other sorts of databases you can go to. Medline is for the National Library of Medicine. If you're looking at medical research, it's got more of that specifically there. But there's others. Grants Index, looking at grants, the Korean Journal database. So there's lots of other sorts of resources you can go to. Or you can select all of them. The issue if you select all of them is your search may get flooded with things from other databases and other topics that you're not really interested in. So we're going to focus on the Web of Science core collection. And then next to that is editions. And if we click on the little arrow next to the all, so we're picking all editions by default. Come on, there we go. You can see different sets of data within the Web of Science core collection. There is social sciences, arts, humanity, conference proceedings, book citations, and others. So we want to look at all of those sources of information, of articles, of products that we can go searching for. So our default will be that we're going to be using is the Web of Science core collection with all editions. Okay, so now with that behind us, there's other information we'll come and talk about that over the future exercises as well. We'll touch on more of this. But now let's start with exercise one. And our first question down here is we're looking for a paper published in 2013 by someone named Dawson that reviews 25 years of research on interventions for children with autism. So we're going to start our search, and we do our search in these rows of boxes that will appear. To start with, it's just one row, and the first box gives us the type of the field that we're looking for in this database. So what Web of Science is, it's a database where they've got different information from articles. They've got the title, they've got the journal that it was published in. They've got the authors, a list of authors. Where they have the authors' affiliations. Where are the authors from? The year it was published, the abstract, all the words in the abstract that describe the study and the findings. So you can select specific sorts of topics to look for. And kind of here we're seeing it's, one of them is author. Here we can kind of go through and pick different ones. Um, so we're going to select author because we're looking for we specifically an author named Dawson. And let's just kind of start with this, and you can probably imagine, I bet you there's a lot of articles published by someone named Dawson. Yes, 47,412 articles have been published by a person named Dawson. Well, obviously that's way more than we're ever going to go search through. So let's limit it a little bit. And to kind of narrow that, we add a row. Now there's three boxes here. Notice the first one is the default is and, but you can do and or not. And we'll talk about those a little bit more as well. But to start with, we're going to do and. And by selecting and, it means it has to be Dawson and whatever we add here, which is going to narrow the search. For example, let's say our next thing is, well, we know it's published in 2013. So I'm going to click on the fields and go down to year published, and we'll say 2013. And so now, if there was was it 47,000 articles by Dawson, a lot of those are not going to be published in by someone named Dawson. A lot of those won't be published in 2013. So now it has to be Dawson and 2013. So it's going to be smaller. It's a subset. Everything in 2012, 2015 is dropped. So we're focusing our search here. Let's see how much we focused it. Okay, we're down to 1,267. That's a big drop, but still more than we're going to want to kind of filter through. So let's come back here and add another row because we know it's 2013 and it's about autism. So let's look for autism. Now, here you could kind of approach this a few ways. You could say, because it's not the author, it's not a year published, we can search in all fields. And I'm going to do that. Let's say autism. And you might wonder, well, why don't you always just search all the fields for these words? Well, sometimes that can be a problem. Let's say that I'm looking for a study done about um, children in the state of Maine. Well, if I search on all fields and put Maine in as a word, remember one of those fields is your affiliation, kind of where are you from, and you risk getting a list of all the authors, all the articles ever published by a professor at the University of Maine will show up in the list. So you don't necessarily want to always do all fields, but we'll do that for autism here. Uh, Kind of, you can be a little more narrow by picking the, oops, where is it? The topic, which looks at the title abstract keywords and keywords plus. That the keywords are words that the author uses to describe their study. They used to be in the old days, kind of how you would find articles when you were looking up manually in files. keywords plus are words that describe specific words that describe a study that Claravit's AI generates, but um, just for your edification. So let's add autism. We'll look in all the fields. Let's see how that narrowed it down. Wow, well now we're down to 20. That's really focused it a lot, and we could search through these 20 and see if we find the paper we're looking for. But you may also notice right here is we're looking at this list of 20, there are the quick filters on the side. And one of them, we can kind of narrow it, it will further narrow this search in specific ways. So we can find all the articles that are review articles, open access articles, or with data associated with it that you can access. Well, in this case, we're thinking, well, what? This is a review. The paper reviews 25 years of research. So maybe that sounds like a review article. And there's one. So let's click on that and see if that's what we want. And now we have two options here. We can refine. The default seems to be refine, which means that we're going to also, it's further narrowing it. It's refining the search that it only will include review articles, which is one. Or you can exclude, let's say it's like, no, I don't want review articles. And so you can exclude those. But we're going to refine. Let's see if we got our paper. What did we get? If I search that, I see we have an article titled Vertical Mapping in the Development of Exceptional Autistic Abilities. That does not sound like the one we're looking for. Nope, nope. That doesn't sound right. And that's important. Just because it says, oh, it's giving you review articles, don't assume it's perfect. Because remember, this is just a machine. It's machine learning looking for its own patterns. It's trying to figure out, is this a review article? Yes or no? And it will make mistakes. So if you get results that don't fit what you're looking for, don't just assume it's got to be correct and that's the way it is, that it must be this article because there's only one. No, it can make mistakes. So think while you're doing it. So let's go back and come up with another way because that didn't work for us. What else can we add? Um, well, we also know, look, it's looking at not just autism, but interventions for children with autism. So let's also add another row and further narrow it to do autism intervention. Okay, and now let's search. Oh, we're down to 5. So it's getting much closer. Let's scroll through these 5 and see if we can kind of see the one we're looking for. Parenting related stress, that doesn't sound quite right. A quarter century of progress on the early detection and treatment of autism spectrum disorders. A quarter century, 25 years. That's got to be it. Published by Dawson, G. Dawson. Okay, there's our article, I think. And we could look at the others, but this is definitely the one that we're looking at that we want. So let's click on the article. Notice there's a lot of hyperlinks here, and we'll come back to all those hyperlinks over the next few exercises. But I'm going to click on the title, and it takes us to a summary of that article right here. Here we see the full author information, Geraldine Dawson. Um, is the first author. Where is it published? Development and Psychopathology. Information. Here's the abstract. You can see the whole abstract. It kind of summarizes the article if you want to kind of know more, right? Lots of information there. Here's their affiliations. The You can, oh look, you can get a full text from the publisher or other full text links that if you want to get a PDF of the article through the university, you can get it and actually read the whole article. Great, great, lots of information. And again, we'll kind of explore this a little bit more in upcoming exercises. Now, to get our answer for question one, we need the reference for this. So to get the reference, up here, there's export. I'm going to click on export, and it gives us different ways of exporting information from this summary. Now, there's a few I personally that you can look at. Plain text gives you a kind of in a in one format. I personally like some are for data software. If you've got software that you can that will if you're writing like a big book or thesis or dissertation, and there's software that will keep track of all your references. So it's got a few for those. Um, I like the printable HTML file for us. So I click on that, and you can tell it what information do you want. Um, for example, you can include the abstract. You can include everything. You can include everything and references all the articles that Dawson cites, that Dawson used in her paper. But for answering question one, we just want the author, the title, and the source. So I'm going to export that. And let's open it so you can kind of see what it looks like. And here it is. Here's your reference. So for us, we can just highlight this. I would just highlight the title, the publication date, and all of that, maybe those rows. Copy it, and you can paste it into a little file. If you want to format it, make it look like follow APA format. Very pretty if you want to do that. For now, for us, I'm okay. You could just paste this into Brightspace as your answer, and that would be fine. Because again, I'm interested in the exercise of doing this searching. So that would complete exercise. That takes care of question one for us. So let's come back to the search, and I'm gonna delete and start over. I'm gonna kind of clear everything out. And we're ready for question number two. Okay, so let's go to question number two below. Now we're looking for a paper published by Flanagan that addressed AI in special education. Um, so let's start here. I will stick with author, and we want someone named Flanagan. And let's just see how many papers have Flanagan's of the world published. 16,420. The Web of Science. Web of Science doesn't have everything. There's other papers. There's Flanagan's out there have published more than that, but in Web of Science, it's 16,000. So that's clearly too many. So we're going to add a row, and we'll do and. So we narrow that 16,000. And we'll do in all fields AI, because we don't have a date for this one. Maybe you were at a workshop, and Flanagan was talking about some paper that she'd recently published using AI in special education. You thought, oh, that sounds interesting, and so you want to kind of take a look at what she said, at the article that she was talking about. So let's search now. Fields for AI. We're down to 144. So people named Flanagan have published 144 papers on AI. That's narrowing it down. Let's add one more field. Uh, and we also want specifically special education. Oops, special education. And I'm going to experiment with this a little bit. Let's see if I type it in like that. We have 33. And kind of the key, notice what we see here is that you might look at this and, oh, look, here's one, but it's K-12 education, not special education. And the issue is because notice when I did the search, I just put in the words, it repeats it up here, special education. It might have special in the abstract and education in the title, and it'll count, it'll flag it, it'll capture it. But I'm not looking at something, maybe it's special, um, uh, special services for education of medical students or art students or who knows. No, I want special education kind of together, the words, as a combination. So we're going to go back and let's edit that. And when we want that, I got to put it in quotes. And now it'll only capture articles where in the fields it's somewhere in that information about that article it has special education combined, not special here and education there. So we put that in quotes because we want special education. um, Now let's see what we get down to. One. That really trimmed it, didn't it? One, special education. Now, we also want to, it may be tempting to say, well, that's got to be the article, right? Because there's one, just like we saw with the review article with Dawson, and no, that wasn't the right one. So always check, as we kind of have the point at the bottom of the question about be certain your article accurately reflects all three of these. So make sure it's by Flanagan, addressing AI and addressing special education. And if I read this, general artificial intelligence, AI, as an educational collaboration, next generation resource. And notice kind of this description down here. It's saying special education. In fact, let's click on it and we'll maybe see more. Oh, Flanagan is an author, Sarah M. Flanagan. And notice, yep, the abstract is talking about a special education teacher and special education classrooms. So this has got to be the article we're looking for. Great. So now I want to export it. And notice kind of the layout. Again, your layout will be cleaner than mine because mine's kind of squished. I export, go to printable HTML. I want the author title sort. Let's export those. I'm gonna just open it for now. And there we go. I copied that information. It's early access. Notice this is a little different because it's an early access article. That's just articles that haven't officially been published in, especially if it's a paper journal. It may not, the paper copy of the journal may not have been printed yet. It may not be in the library, but they'll publish it online immediately so people can get stuff hot off the press. So when they talk about it as a special, I'm sorry, well, they can go by a few different words, but a preprint or pre-publication sort of thing. Anyway, I digress a little bit. So we copy that. There's your answer for question number 2. So we're all set. Okay, so this kind of gets us started using these tools, and we're going to continue with this with future exercises. Hope this was useful. Take care. Bye-bye.